And let's go to Rebecca in Los Angeles, California. Rebecca, you're on the Ken Coleman Show.
Hey, Ken. Thanks so much for taking my call.
You bet. What's going on, Rebecca?
So I'm a registered dietitian, and I'm thinking about going back to school to become a physician's assistant.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's the right thing to do.
Why? What's making you question that?
So to be fair, the last year, this year has been pretty terrible as far as COVID.
Yes.
So it's not, I'm trying to take that in stride, but I've been pretty unhappy in my job.
Were you unhappy prior to COVID?
So I was only in my job for about this new position for about 4 months before COVID hit. And to make it matters worse, my manager was actually out on leave and I was covering for her, and then COVID hit. So there's definitely a lot going on in that sense. But
let me ask you this. Were you doing things in that first 4 months as covering for your supervisor that really weren't a part of your job description, and also things that you just would never do if you didn't have to?
Oh, yeah. I've felt pretty taken advantage of.
Yeah, exactly. So here's the only thing I'm asking. You know why I'm taking you to this kind of,
maybe I just don't like my job.
Yeah, well, I'm backing you into the corner of reality so that we can decide, is it truly the right move to leave being a dietitian? Because there was a reason why you became a dietitian.
Yeah.
There was a why. And I just wonder if you were able to do the work of a dietitian in a healthy culture, if you would even be calling me. What do you think the answer is? Not locking you into this, but just what do you think the answer is?
Yeah, the hospital I was at before, I was pretty happy. It was a teaching hospital, so it was a lot more collaborative environment. I felt like my voice carried more weight, whereas the hospital I'm at now, I don't really feel like my recommendations matter that much.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why I was thinking, I don't really want to go become a whole medical doctor. It's 10, 15 more years of school, but being able to kind of be a little bit more in charge of the patient's care. I just feel like I want to do more for the patient than I think I can do as a dietitian.
Oh, okay. Now that's good. So that's what I'm looking for. Because if you were in a healthy dietitian role, would you still be at a point eventually, maybe not right now, but would you get to a point where you'd go, I've enjoyed this, but I still want to have more input in the person's health?
Right.
If that's the case,
then
sure, go for it. I just don't want you to go in debt. That's the challenge. I just don't want you to go in debt. It's not worth it.
we're not going to go in debt. We're in baby step 3B.
Good.
But and I would be applying to tons of scholarships, of course, as well. And I'd be staying in Los Angeles. So I'm looking for online programs where I can work at the same time.
Great.
But at the same time, it would be taking a massive chunk out of our home down payment savings, putting it back a little bit.
That's okay. I'm okay there. Because the home down payment will take care of itself when you're a PA. PA is a really good position. It pays well.
Right, right.
I don't know what it pays in LA, but
it's pretty good. And I feel like as a dietitian, I'm being paid fairly now, but I feel like without sounding too proud, I'm a pretty high capacity person, and I think that I bring more to the table than I would get compensated as a dietitian.
I agree. Because I was actually just getting ready to tell you, what's cool about this is you can take your dietitian training and work it into your PA. I think you'd be very fulfilled that way because you're seeing a patient. They could come in with a broken hand or something like that, and I could see you trying to go, look, let me give you some great food that'll help the healing process and strengthen your bone. They're like, what?
Yeah,
that's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They'll walk out of there with a little extra bounce in their step.
Right.
So I like this move. As long as you don't go into debt and you're patient, meaning I don't think it's a dumb move for you guys to have to put off buying a home while you're going to PA school, because I think the home will always be there. And you're doing the right thing now. I certainly would not delay your dream because of a house.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that.
But what happens if I go to PA school and I become a PA and I'm still unhappy?
Well, then, there's a reason why I tell you to go sit down and clarify and verify. So this is a part of the proximity principle. It says in order to do what, Rebecca wants to do. She's got to be around people that are doing it in places where it is happening, and that's kind of the fun result of the proximity principle. But the research part of the proximity principle helps you elude that mistake, okay? And so you actually need to get on the phone. I know LA is different than Nashville, all right? In normal times, I'd have you have coffee and lunch with 2 or 3 PAs. But now you need to do Zoom calls and phone calls with some PAs.
Yeah.
And
so I have some friends who are PAs. I've been talking with them. I think I'd really love to go actually in their clinics and shadow, but because of COVID.
Then I would shadow before you make the decision. So I would wait. I would really wait. Now, let me just say this. I do think a phone call can give you most of the information that shadowing would. Because I would literally say, could you describe most of your day? Just walk them through it. Hey, what's the patient interaction like? What's that like? How often are you in? Then do you go talk to the doctor? What's your interaction with the nurse? What do you love most about it? What do you like the least? I think you can do enough one-to-one conversation and research to find out whether or not that sounds interesting, because you've got enough experience with patients. I think this is about the rhythm. I think you just need to know what the rhythm looks like. How many patients do they see in a day? What are the range of the cases? You know what I mean? Yeah. How do they work with the doctor? What kind of cases does the PA get typically versus the doctor? How do you work with the nurse? I mean, I think you can figure that out. But I think shadowing would be brilliant. But that's the answer to your question. You shouldn't have a fear. When you go into PA school, you should know that you basically want to be a doctor, because that's what a PA is. You're a doctor with a little bit less qualifications.
Yeah.
I'm serious. The last 5 or 6 times, Rebecca, I've gone to the doctor for routine checkups or whatever, I see a PA.
Absolutely.
I don't even care, by the way.
Work in they're great.
Yeah, I'm like, sure, great. I don't care. So I think you have to weigh that and go, is that the kind of medical work I want to do? That's what it comes down to. So don't overthink this, is my point. Your heart's going to verify. So clarify what's involved and let your heart verify. All right? And I still think you have to consider what would be the step up from dietitian instead of going the PA route. I think you should play with that a little bit. What would that ladder look like? Where does a dietitian go once they've gotten really good? What happens? What's the next step up? Consider all of those things and then come back to the mission. What are the results of my work that matter deeply to me? And you could say on the high end wellness, but then you can get more specific into the type of problem you really enjoy solving for patients. So you got this. I promise, Rebecca, don't get impatient. Take the time on the front end so that you save yourself time on the back end.